Foley,
Here.
Peralez, Esparza, Cohen,
Here.
and Davis.
Here.
Thank you.
Okay. I have two different agendas, so I'm not sure which one is, oh, I see. I see the issue. Got it. I had the wrong date on one of my agendas was the wrong date. So we don't have any items on the review of work plan for the item C, the consent calendar, the airport commission and annual work plan. I see there are 3 hands up, so we'll go to public comment first unless any council members have questions before we go to public comment. Being none, we'll go to public comment first on. This is Airport Commission Annual Report and Work Plan. Please stay on topic. First commenter is 5140, then Paul Soto, then Roland.
Yeah, this airport really needs repair and infrastructure. It's a terrible airport, dirty. They're definitely not keeping up to COVID standards, that's for sure. TSA there is terrible. San Jose PD has to sit there and watch the TSA. That's something to behold. So yeah, you guys should do some of that airport for a massive city with a lot of air traffic, COVID or no COVID, and it's just it's embarrassing. I mean, when people come visit this city, they must go, "Oh my God, this is Silicon Valley. This is something that you might like picture in Fresno, actually, no, or Sacramento." No, it's third world at best. Getting in and out of there is terrible. You know, you slow down to unload. You got the guy with a flashlight in your face with an orange vest. You know, trying to load your stuff, unload your stuff. It's a joke. That airport's a joke. And who's it run by? This town that's a joke. You guys need to do something. Spruce that place up. It's boring. It's ugly inside. Not inviting at all. You guys should be ashamed of yourselves the way you run that airport. It's just, when I know I have to go there, I cringe. You know, like, I guess I could go to Oakland or San Francisco. I don't want to drive that far. I should have a decent airport to use in this city of the Silicon Valley where all this money is, all these smart people and technology and everything. It's a joke. You guys should sharpen your pencils, put it together, and make a decent airport.
Thank you, Mr. Sonsini. Next is Paul Soto.
Good afternoon, Council. Paul Soto from the Horseshoe. My concern is this being a consent calendar item. I think the scope, when you read the memo, we're talking drive growth, innovate, fund the future, invest in the organization. This is the work plan. That I think we need to talk about that. You know, that these are, we wanted to connect, to serve, inspire, you know, all these flowery words, how to transform how Silicon Valley travels. This isn't Silicon Valley, this is San Jose Airport. You see, so there's a disconnect there in terms of the psychology and the way that these memos are being written. Okay, there are benefactors who are going to benefit because they're telling them to market like this. I read these documents constantly. And there is a centering of Silicon Valley, Silicon Valley, Silicon Valley, Silicon Valley. It's sickening because what we're talking about is the San Jose Airport. That is the topic. Okay, so I respect what you were saying, Councilmember Davis, with respect to staying on topic. Silicon Valley doesn't even exist. You can look at any map in the world. You go to any search engine. Silicon Valley does not exist. It's an idea. And so for Silicon Valley, the words to be inserted in a document in the city that I come from, okay, that I have to fight. I'm fighting for survival. Well, these people just get to come in, throw their billions of dollars around and shoot. What do you want to call it, buddy? Oops, we got it. There it is, there, buddy. We're Silicon Valley it is. So I take great offense to that, man. People are dying in the city, and they're going to continue to die. Lee Wilcox, he centered it beautifully. The city has not responded to that report that he gave. That report that he gave, I showed that to 20 people, and we discussed it, and we all came to the same conclusion that what Lee was centering is that we are going on lockdown, and it's going to happen soon, and we need to prepare for it. So this is what I'm talking about, that this should not be on this the consent calendar.
Thank you. Next speaker is Roland. After Roland is Blair Beekman. Roland, we can't hear you. We'll go to Blair Beekman.
No,
Oh.
they just unmuted me.
Okay, got it. Roland, go ahead.
Thank you. I can't speak if people don't unmute me. So quickly, Madam Chair. So first of all, I really appreciate the closed captioning. Thank you. Moving on to the airport, every modern, not even international airport, has got a high-speed rail connection directly at the airport. I believe I showed a YouTube video to the TNE about last year or maybe 18 months ago how we could exactly do that. It really is not rocket science. And by the way, this is exactly what Burbank are doing right now as part of the high-speed rail project. They're relocating the station to the west side of the airport. It'll be a high-speed rail station right there where the airport is. But they're obviously moving the terminal at the same time. And we've got the same opportunity in San Jose. Now, in wrapping up, I would like to touch very briefly on the airport connector. I don't know if anybody's had the opportunity of visiting the Boring Company's tunnel under the Las Vegas Convention Center. If you did, I hope that you will have noticed that there are no cross passages between the tunnels to provide safe evacuation in the case of a tunnel fire. And this is why this tunnel was so inexpensive. And I hope people will be really careful moving forward and paying attention to this kind of life-saving details. Thank you.
Thank you. Next speaker is Blair Beekman.
Hi, Blair Beekman here. You can start the clock over. I hope you have. To go on with my speech, I hope the way overly ambitious high-rise fantasies of downtown San Jose a few years ago are turning more into something of the good-minded practicalities of the Airport Commission ideas for this area. It is from this place we can then better consider and debate the future of development all around the airport and the Park Avenue area. And from this place, how to better connect to the ideas and words of Paul Soto for this area as well. I still feel from this, we can close the Reed Hillview Airport in the next year and to let the airport begin to sit for the next 10 years to clean it of its toxins. And from this, the closed airport can be given good runway maintenance and security over the next 10 years in case of any upcoming Bay Area natural disasters and needs. To also note, the Palo Alto and San Martin airports are 20 miles away from the Reed Hillview Airport. The Hollister Airport is 40 miles away and a higher grade of emergency plane landing capability compared to Reed Hillview. I thank you very much for the switch to unleaded fuel, but it may simply be too little too late with the long-term health issues of this area. I hope it can be clear, this can be clear pictures for all of us to more openly address how to close Reed Hillview sooner, while at the same time we can be developing open, clear Bay Area disaster preparedness plans for the area as well. Thank you.
Thank you. Turning back to the committee, are there any questions on this item?
I'll move approval.
Thank you.
Second.
Great. Can we take roll, please?
Foley,
Aye.
Peralez,
Yes.
Cohen,
Aye.
and Davis.
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you. That motion carries. We'll move on to item D, reports to committee. The first one is City Roadmap Regional Transportation Activities Quarterly Report. I believe that is Jessica Zenk.
Yes, good afternoon. It's Jessica and John to introduce.
Oh, yeah, go ahead. John
Great.
Russo, Director of Transportation. We've got the first time we're doing this, which is a verbal report with a short PowerPoint. And Jessica is going to take that with us. Also is Andrea Rona Amador and Alisar Ayun to answer questions should we have any. Thanks. Go ahead, Jessica.
Yeah, absolutely. Good afternoon, Chair and committee members. I'm Jessica Zenk, Deputy Director for Planning and Project Delivery for the Department of Transportation. This afternoon, we wanted to feature 3 items for the committee from our regional activities items. The first is an update on the Warm Springs Quiet Zone. The second is a general legislative update, particularly focused on state and federal funding opportunities, and a quick update about the high-speed rail project in terms of its process moving forward. So to jump right in, the Warm Springs Quiet Zone, the Warm Springs Line, is a Union Pacific corridor that runs through the heart of San Jose. So if you look at the top of the screen, the top left, that picks up just north of Diridon Station. It runs across through the Vendome and Hensley neighborhoods into Japantown and up and to the northeast into District 4, leaving District 3. This particular corridor has been a Union Pacific line for quite many decades. But in early 2019, spring of 2019, Union Pacific changed some of its services and began operating trains in many night times. And so shone a spotlight on basically how this line would disrupt people's sleep, 8 p.m., 2 a.m., 3 a.m., with services that hadn't previously been active during the night very much in this corridor. So with that, the city began to look at a quiet zone. And in particular, first, what is a quiet zone and why a quiet zone here? So a quiet zone is something defined by the Federal Railroad Administration as an area in which it is safe and effective for trains to pass through without using their horns as a mechanism of alerting people near the tracks to the fact that a train was coming. So a quiet zone can only be done in areas that are prescribed and in some cases approved by the Federal Railroad Administration and other professional stakeholders. Along the Warm Springs corridor, we saw that it was particularly applicable for a quiet zone because the trains go through this area at very low speeds. There are also low train volumes, relatively low traffic volumes along the streets that it transgresses, and only one active train track through this. So there aren't trains kind of moving in both directions at the same time. And finally, this corridor, the Warm Springs line, meets almost all of the applicable federal requirements and pre-existing qualifications for a quiet zone. Specifically, and we'll go into this more on the following page, it has a risk index, which is lower than the nationwide significant risk threshold. So it does fall below that risk threshold. And it has one location, and that is 7th and Jackson, where it requires a modification to be up to federal regulatory standards. So these two things have to both be the case, the risk index be below, and it being up to federal regulations in order for a city like San Jose to proceed with a quiet zone without going through an extensive approvals process. So to go in a little bit more in depth, we do have other federally regulated train corridors within San Jose. Specifically, here's the Warm Springs corridor that we've been talking about. Of course, numerous trains travel through the Monterey corridor area, crossing at Skyway, Branham, and Chenoweth. And we also, as most of you are well aware, certainly in District 6, we have many, many trains that use the Osirey and Virginia crossings just south of Diridon Station. We also have the light rail trains that use the Vasona corridor, which is also a shared Union Pacific corridor. So these are our 4 federally regulated train corridors within San Jose. You can see that the traffic volumes, as we talked about, are much lower in this corridor. And even more starkly, the risk index is much, much lower than the other corridors. The 5 streets named here, Skyway, Branham, Chenoweth along Monterey, and Osirey and Virginia just south of Diridon Station, those 5 locations have been prioritized by the City Council for a grade separation in conjunction with high-speed rail, Caltrain, and the Diridon Station project. So those we put into one category where we've put them on a regulatory list for eligibility for grade crossing improvements and future grade separation. The final corridor, the Vasona light rail corridor, does have an existing quiet zone that was set up through that extensive regulatory process. We're also working very closely with VTA and the California Public Utilities Commission and FRA, Federal Railroad Administration's alphabet soup, to make a number of safety improvements and upgrades along that corridor as well to maintain that quiet zone. Going back to the Warm Springs quiet zone specifically, since that change in Union Pacific practices in spring of 2019, we have been working with Union Pacific and other stakeholders to evaluate this quiet zone. In particular, we had a quiet zone study done by consultants who are expert within this field. We've been working through those recommendations with Union Pacific and the California Public Utilities Commission. And we've been working on both interim and long-term build-out plans for 7th and Jackson, which you'll probably recall is the location where we are not up to current federal regulatory standards to establish a quiet zone on our own. So we are here where we have worked through successfully with Union Pacific that interim design component that we will look to be installing hopefully over this fall. We're working with Union Pacific to get their signature on our regulatory forms, and also we'll be bringing to you certain agreements with Union Pacific to match their money with ours to smooth some of the grade crossings that are currently not modernized or retrofit for safe pedestrian crossing. And then we'll layer on top of that at 7th and Jackson, the interim controls that will allow it to move forward. The other important success that we had over this past summer that we wanted to make you aware of is that through a small portion of the state budget, we were awarded $8 million for Warm Springs Quiet Zone upgrades for the permanent build out, new signaling, new curbs, new gutters, the whole thing along some of these key locations, including a permanent build out at 7th and Jackson. From there, there is a process of establishing the quiet zone. We want to share that with you. We'll be bringing through city manager's authority, a notice of establishment as we build out that interim improvement for 7th and Jackson. And then we look forward to beginning the quiet zone and giving people who live along the corridor a better opportunity for sleeping through the night. So that is the process on the Warm Springs quiet zone. And as John mentioned, Alisar Aoun is here to answer questions if we have them after we finish the presentation. This is just a little bit more detail in terms of the pending approval, the required work later this fall in terms of upgrading the track surfaces with concrete panels, implementing that interim plan, and updating the signs and markings at the rail crossing locations. We wanted to continue with the legislative update, beginning with the federal legislation and funding opportunities, then moving to the state legislature and funding, and finally a brief touch on the regional plan and associated funding. We've all heard, and I know a couple of weeks ago at City Council, heard extensively about the opportunities for federal support moving through this Senate and House on the federal side. We wanted to make sure that the Transportation and Environment Committee was aware of two specific project approvals that are in to the federal government for support. The first is the big one, which is that VTA did apply, submit their application for $1.735 billion for BART Phase 2. That is their 25% federal match through the Federal Transit Administration's Expedited Project Delivery Pilot Program. Also, this past summer, the city took the lead with our other partners on the Diridon Station to apply for $3.5 million in what is now called the RAISE planning funding. And that application was for an implementation plan for our Diridon Station work that we've brought to you many times. The RAISE grant used to be known as Build Grants, and before that it was Tiger Grants. So this is a funding source with a changing name, but continuity within the federal government. The big opportunities are still working their way through the Senate and the House, as you are probably aware, but few weeks ago now, the Infrastructure and Investment and Jobs Act was approved by the Senate. The House has not yet taken up that legislation, but it does set forth a number of new both formula and competitive funding programs at the federal level. The formula funding programs, most of those monies do come through either the Federal Transit Administration or the Federal Highway Administration and make their way through different organizations locally. That would be largely VTA and MTC. And then there are numerous new or reinvested in competitive funding programs. So what staff is doing in intergovernmental relations and DOT, as well as other departments, is taking a real look at all of these different competitive funding programs and outlining which of our priorities in San Jose could benefit from these different funding programs. For example, the RAISE grant is on there, and that's what we've applied for Diridon Station. The Strengthening Mobility and Revolutionizing Transportation, or SMART program, is a brand new program, could be a fit for our airport connector, for example. There are a lot of new funds for bridge funding needs, which we know we have numerous of those across the city, and some other new programs like projects of national significance, safe streets and roads for all, which is a huge priority for us with our Vision Zero program, et cetera. So as we sift through this and see how final approval is achieved, hopefully through the House, we'll bring that list of how these line up with our priorities back to the City Council and this committee. There are also a number of moving pieces on the state front. A small budget that included many things, but not very much for transportation over the summer, did include that $8 million in funding for the Warm Springs Quiet Zone that I mentioned earlier. And that was specifically targeting those needs based on community concerns that have been brought to our partners at the state government. A more full transportation budget has not yet been passed by the state, and we wanted to bring that to your attention. In May, the governor proposed a suite of improvements that it included allocating the final $4.2 billion in Proposition 1A funds for the high-speed rail project, as well as $1 billion for transportation projects focused on the 2028 Olympics in Los Angeles, $1 billion for priority transit and rail projects statewide, $500 million or $500 million for grade separations and grade crossing improvements, also of course of interest to us per the previous conversation. Another $500 million for active transportation program needs, and a significant investment, more than $400 million for zero emission rail and transit equipment and infrastructure. So there's a lot of good improvements that match our priorities that we're urging the state legislature to take forward as they go back into session right now. That budget does need to pass through the legislature by the middle of this month, September 11th. So we're monitoring that very closely and urging our legislative partners to push this forward so that we don't lose these opportunities. Finally, on the regional side, Plan Bay Area, which is going through the environmental process right now, was urged to push up funding for both high-speed rail and Caltrain to a total of $8.6 billion in the plan that's moving through the process now. We also saw an increase in money for modernizing our light rail system to $5.5 billion. On the more local side, the airport connector, BTA recently approved $2.5 million from Measure A funds. The city will use those funds in partnership with BTA and others to further our request for proposals to select a potential public-private partnership partner to build out and operate the connector. We recently, as you know, hired AirUp to assist staff in developing this RFP. Finally, last update for today is that the high-speed rail project does continue to make its way through and particularly advance its final environmental impact report for the sections covered that cover San Jose. A final EIR is to be released in February of 2022, with our partners at High Speed Rail expecting a record of decision and approval by March of 2022. We have been working under council direction on a memorandum of understanding with the High Speed Rail Authority, and we wanted to give you a brief heads up about that we hope to bring that memorandum of understanding to you at the full council in October. And what that MOU, memorandum of understanding, would do would be to set the framework for how we cooperate moving forward on the city's priorities with respect to the high-speed rail project, specifically aligning our work around Diridon Station, high-speed rail in the city, and also working towards grade separations together and setting forth our roles and responsibilities as we do that with high-speed rail. So with that, we are available for questions.
Thank you. We'll go to the public first. 5140, caller 5140.
Yeah, high-speed rail and trains and no, it's not going to happen. It's not going to work. People have been talking about this high-speed train between San Francisco and San Jose forever. Hasn't happened, and it's expensive, and no, it's not going. Not only that, the city, the county, the state, they have rules where they can't even buy trains or anything to do with mass transit if it's made in Germany. Read about it. It's a really weird law, but they're not allowed to even use the finest or import the finest mass transit equipment due to all these provincial laws that are happening here. And I mean, what an embarrassment that train is between San Jose and San Francisco. You know, it goes a mile an hour for 5 miles when you're going into San Francisco. When you're going into San Jose, it's a joke. Everybody knows it. It's going to be wasted billions of dollars. You don't have a bus or a light rail that ever has gone to the airport. It's a joke. You guys don't get it. You're wasting money. You're wasting time. If you want to really, get it together, get rid of the light rail and just use buses and have buses run on a frequency. That's all you're going to be able to do. And you guys will screw that up. So the best thing you can actually do if you want to learn how to do mass transit is go live in Madrid like I did for like 8 years. And then you can see how incredible it is how they run their transit there. But you guys want to run your transit like England. That's not what you want. Okay? What you guys are doing is you're just gonna waste billions of dollars all over again. I mean, hey, the light rail was down for 3 months, and I don't think anybody missed it, unfortunately. I mean, I guess they came right on time for this 49er game. But I tell you what, I want you guys to get the money so I can watch you guys screw it up, because it's actually fun.
Next speaker is Roland.
Thank you, Madam Chair. So on quiet zones, Atherton has had quiet zones for 5 years. I don't know why it's taking us so long, and I would really appreciate similar treatment at Skyway, Branham, and Chenoweth. I can hear those trains at night. I don't understand why we have to wait for great separation. And then I got a quick question to the chair about what the FRA risk index represents. Is it the number of trains times the number of cars crossing the tracks every day, or is it something else? Moving to the expedited pilot delivery program, that program, nobody else has selected that program in the United States for the very simple reason that it caps the federal contribution to the project to 25%, and everybody is probably in the 40% or above. And that in turn profoundly impacts our existing sales tax measures. So moving forward, we will not be able to leverage any of the new federal funding programs which are currently on the table until that is addressed. And I'm actually in the middle of writing a letter to the FTA Administrator Fernandez. The $4.2 billion, actually the entire budget decision, which was due by September the 10th, has just been delayed to October the 10th. So there will not be, the governor will not have to make any kind of a decision immediately prior to the recall election. In closing, Diridan, the high-speed rail EIR does not include an elevated section at Diridan. And it's unclear to me why the city insists on partnering with the high-speed rail authority instead of waiting for the outcome of the ongoing Caltrain governance discussions and potentially taking it from there. Thank you.
Next speaker is Paul Soto.
You unmuted Roland again. Thank you.
Yeah, Paul Soto from the Horseshoe. One of the reasons, Roland, that they're doing this is because Peralez made a deal with them because you have to go with that high-speed rail. It has to go through the Horseshoe. Okay, this is the most redlined. I grew up in this area. There's nobody here on this panel that is more of an expert about that neighborhood than I am. Okay, Peralez wasn't in on none of those meetings at the SAG and all these other subgroups that were talking about this. But what they're going to do is 4 tracks have to go through there into the Diridan station. 4 of them. Okay, you only have 1 there now. Okay, so what the reason why Dev Davis got historical landmark protections for the homes on the south side of that track is to protect them. So what this means is that the reason why Oswald in Virginia is on here, because the Horseshoe has got to be demolished. It's the entire park has got to be demolished. So what Peralez is doing, Peralez and other members of the council, they got put into the VTA light rail. Okay, so I'm on this committee, that committee. So what Peralez is doing is playing a very high stakes chess game, and he's doing it with the lives of human beings in the city, and feels absolutely nothing. I mean, just a flat affect. You will never see any kind of, that's sociopathic. It is sociopathic to have absolutely a flat affect with respect to the kinds of corruption that he's involved in, with respect to the light rail, with the high-speed rail train, with respect to all the development that's going on downtown. And he does it with a straight face, absolutely nothing. That isn't strong. That isn't tough. That is a human being that is playing chess with other human lives and cares absolutely nothing, has no response, no reaction, and everything he does is 100% correct and on the line, and everything anybody has to critique him is completely false.
Next speaker is Blair Beekman.
Hi, Blair Beekman here. Thanks for the words of Paul and Roland. You know, there are plans that, that for the next 40 or 50 years, we can plan for a 2-track system, and the next 75 plan for a 4-track system. So it can be spaced out a bit when the 4 tracks will be, but it is a question. And thank you for this item. You know, there's a lot of important building that's going on through Fremont at this time. I hope we can learn to talk more about it. The future of high-speed rail traveling through the Central Valley will have to use the ACE rail to travel through Fremont. So they're really starting to, you know, figure out how to build. And you're talking about Warm Springs issues on this item. So it's connected. And I just thought I would mention it at this time to keep the subject matter open and make it public. It's important. About the other transportation issues and funding that you're working towards and considering, you know, there was a really important Smart Cities Council agenda item a few weeks ago. We're trying to establish the future of data collection for San Jose and what we can be doing this fall. And you're having a really good set of, council meetings at this time. You talked about parking issues last Friday, and you're talking about transportation today. You didn't talk about the future of the technology involved in that process and the needs of open public policy for that process. The Olympics are in 2028. I think it's a great match to consider how do we develop and show our open public policy ideas at that time with technology. I mean, do you hear what I'm trying to go for here and what's possible to create for ourselves? We can be really open about this, and you're doing some good work now in San Jose. Thank you.
Thank you. Turning back to my committee, Councilmember Cohen.
Yeah, thank you. I have some questions about the quiet zone work. First, I want to thank you for the work on getting the quiet zone to move forward for Warm Springs. I think it's important for that area that they finally have that come to fruition. I know they've been working on that for a long time. You had a list of 4 federally regulated rail areas. I'm curious, so once the rail line goes north of your map and crosses over the 101-880 area into what you said was District 4, is that not federally regulated rail then north of that?
Thank you very much. And I am going to introduce Alisar Owen, who deserves all the credit for moving this effort forward with the Warm Springs corridor, along with Stacy Liu. And Alisar has looked at the corridor moving further north. So Alisar, can you clarify whether that is also federally regulated?
It is, and there are more that we didn't show on that table in that slide. That's correct.
Okay, so there are more. So we have, you know, north of there, we have the rail line goes through the Orchard community and Oakland Road area and crosses over Oakland Road. And we also have it then go up through Alviso and across Alviso as well. And we've gotten actually we continually get a large number of complaints about noise in the Oakland Road community and by McKay. Pretty much it's been a steady, we get that at almost every meeting we have with the community up there, questions about whether we can do what they've done in Warm Springs as far as noise regulation in that area. I'm wondering if we can get the data and information that you have on that table for that next north segment so we can see, you know, whether that falls under that criteria, what it would take to maybe move that quiet zone north and expand it into the Orchard, Oakland Road area, so that we can at least answer the community about what the next steps would be to move that forward?
Yeah, absolutely. We can share that. I will say preliminarily that we have looked at that area And because of the much higher vehicular volumes for a number of the crossings, that does drive that risk index up. So it speaks a little bit to, I believe it was Roland's question, that it's a multiple factor equation that gets us to the risk index, which Alisar could go into further, so I don't misspeak.
Yeah, I know it crosses Brokaw and it crosses Oakland Road, and those are pretty major crossings. And I know I live 4 miles from that crossing, and I hear that train at 2 o'clock in the morning. And so I can imagine what it's like for the people who live right at where it crosses Oakland Road. And that's why we get that complaint a lot. So we ought to at least look into it and what it would take to potentially do some upgrades there, what those upgrades would look like, and how we can help that neighborhood there. Because it's definitely impactful to that community right around those crossings. So at least get the data, do the study, figure it out a little bit for that community. We also just recently, now moving further north to Alviso, received a complaint from the new hotel that just went in right next to those train tracks. You probably saw that complaint. People who are staying in that hotel who are getting the horns going off in the middle of the night and saying, wait a minute, why are we being awakened by that train horn? So, maybe some information about that area north of there as well, all the way up in the Alviso community. And I'm sure the residents in Alviso are affected by the horns there. And while I'm on the subject of trains, I know this isn't quite a noise issue, but we've had a couple of deaths on the train tracks up in Alviso, not this year, but over the course of the last 5 or 6 years. There have been 2 people killed on the train tracks where they cross over just as you head into the waterfront area. And so I have been interested in having a conversation about the tracks there as they cross. Trying to remember which street. I don't know exactly which street crossing it is, but since there's several trains come through across the tracks there, it's worth having some future conversations about the safety of the rail crossings up in Alviso, and how we might deal with pedestrians who cross to head into onto the pedestrian trails where people go running and biking and head into the wildlife refuge and into the waterfront area. So just something for us to keep in mind as we're dealing with the railroad safety and noise issues.
Yeah, and they certainly are related. We can get that additional data for the broader spectrum of our corridors.
Okay, thank you.
Councilmember Peralez.
Thank you, Chair. And thank you for the presentation. Number one, I want to say thank you to Alisar and the DOT staff for all your work on the quiet zone. Certainly been a difficult effort with UPRR. And I just want to appreciate and acknowledge the work that staff has done on that. I do want to ask, and I don't know if it's for you, Jessica, or for Alisar, but I wanted to see if we can get any update in regards to UPRR's current cooperation on this effort.
Sure, absolutely. So we are working through final approval. So get technical for a moment, and then I'll ask Alisar if she has anything to add. But in order to make changes on any of these rail crossings, we need CPUC, California Public Utilities Commission approval. And we have to fill out what is called a GO88B in order to get that. And the stakeholders in this case of this corridor, UP, but sometimes like along the Vasona corridor, it's our colleagues at VTA. We need those stakeholders to sign off on our GO88B before we can move that forward and get CPUC final approval to make the changes. So we are in the process. We've gotten comments from UP, very constructive ones, on our interim plan for 7th and Jackson, as well as for the final plan. And we are awaiting comments, I believe, from the CPUC, and then we'll submit those final documentations. Currently, UP has been working with us very collaboratively on this effort, which we appreciate.
Okay, yeah, I appreciate that. I know that it is challenging. And there's been a lot of work that's gone into this. So I appreciate the update, and I know our constituents will too on this. So we'll be sharing this conversation and presentation with them. And I look forward to hopefully staying on timeline, on a good timeline with that.
So do we.
Yes, yeah, fingers crossed. In regards to the high-speed rail item, and to clarify a few points, the environmental justice study that was supposed to be ongoing, how are we going to stay on top of that, just ensuring the best mitigations possible for the neighborhoods there, Guana neighborhoods, Gardner, Tamian, that obviously that work and that study was important for us in regards to high-speed rail continuing down this path. And so I just wanted to see how that work was coming along.
Yeah, absolutely. So we've not seen the latest work from high-speed rail with respect to the environmental justice analysis and the ways in which they propose to address it. But we are aware that they've been working very hard on it, and we do have time set aside with them in September, early September, in fact. So I think we'll be able to bring you more clarity as to that question after those sessions. And certainly there are also a number of community meetings through the fall to share the results of that work, as well as the proposed ways of addressing any environmental justice issues uncovered through the work.
Oh, I'm sorry, I was on mute. I was saying great. I think I appreciate that. And those are my questions. Thank you.
All right, thank you. Seeing no other questions, I don't think, Lee, we don't need a motion for this since it's a verbal report. Is that correct?
You know, I would check in with Colleen. At times we do ask you to accept the report, but I would refer it to the attorney.
Council members, you can simply move to accept the report.
I'll move to accept the verbal report.
Second. All right, we have a motion and a second. I guess we'll take a roll.
Foley,
Aye.
Peralez,
Yes.
Cohen,
Aye.
and Davis.
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you. We'll move on to item D2, city roadmap lowering PG&E above market costs for clean energy. Lori, you want to kick us off?
Sure. Good afternoon, Councilmember Davis and members of the T&E committee. I'm Lori Mitchell, and I'm the Director of Community Energy. And today, very pleased to be joined by Zach Strike, who is our Assistant Director, as well as Carrie Smith, who is our Division Manager for Regulatory and Legislative Affairs. So next slide. So just as a reminder, this item is lowering PG&E's above market costs for clean energy, which was identified in the 21-22 City Roadmap Initiative that was approved last spring. So next slide. So we focused on a number of initiatives to influence this item, and most of these were focused on SB 612, which Carrie will talk in more detail about later on in the presentation. But Senate Bill 612 was a bill that Cal CCA sponsored, and San Jose Clean Energy worked very hard to support. In essence, the bill allows CCAs to get access to all of the resources that our customers pay for in the PCIA. And so those resources include power products like resource adequacy, renewable energy, as well as greenhouse gas-free energy. So it's really important for us in terms of supporting that bill. We really focused on a number of efforts. One was developing educational materials. So we developed fact sheets, social media posts, website updates, as well as focused on education and letters of support. We also focused a lot of our work on outreach, so outreach both to our delegation as well as members of the Energy Committee leadership. And then really importantly, we focused a lot on stakeholder support for SB 612. So really focused on many organizations here in Silicon Valley and throughout California, both renewable energy firms, tech companies, community stakeholders to really get support for SB 612 in the legislature. And then finally, these last two initiatives, we focused really on analysis to support further reform on the PCIA. So we did a study, which is an attachment to the memo, researching what other states do with exit fee costs and what policies have been implemented in other states that we could learn from. And then finally, we really focused on expanding reform around the PCIA. So working with CalCCA and others to work around consensus proposals. So next slide. So just as a reminder of the growth of the PCIA, so you can see this graph, which shows, since 2013, we've seen a 900% growth in the PCIA. So really significant and importantly, pretty substantial growth since 2018 when our program launched. So when we launched San Jose Clean Energy, the PCIA was about $20 a megawatt hour. Today, it's $45 a megawatt hour. And what that really stems from is a change in the calculation methodology of the PCIA that occurred in 2018. So in 2018, the CPUC changed how it calculates the PCIA and really changed the methodology to focus on short-term energy market prices. So there's an annual recalculation every single year based on where those short-term markets are. And so that's what makes it very challenging. It makes it very difficult to predict, as well as makes it very volatile. So just as a reminder of why we are so focused on this initiative. And then the other thing I would point your attention to on this slide is just an example of how our customers see this on their bill. So, PCIA is a very confusing term, but you can see here it shows up on each customer's bill right under the generation credit. So in this example, which is an average customer of San Jose, they're paying about $20 a month to the PCIA. So really significant amount. In total, this year, our customers will pay $173 million to the PCIA, and that's a $50 million increase of what they paid in 2020. So really substantial costs here, which is why we're focusing so much attention on this issue. So next slide. So from here, I will turn it over to Carrie Smith, who is our division manager for regulatory legislative affairs. And she will walk you through in more detail much of the great work that we've done on this.
Okay, thank you, Lori. And good afternoon, Madam Chair and committee members. I'm Carrie Smith. And I'm going to cover efforts that San Jose Clean Energy led to educate the public and decision makers, and also a little bit about some of the drivers behind the PG&E above market costs, which customers pay for through the PCIA. Go ahead, next slide, Marina. So as Lori discussed, PG&E above market costs represent the difference between the cost of PG&E contracts, generation assets, and energy-related compliance products at the time they were purchased relative to the value of these resources on today's market. And PG&E recovers these above market costs through an added rate called the PCIA that's paid for by utility and CCA customers. And PG&E and CCAs purchase reliability, renewable, and greenhouse gas credits that are a product of their energy contracts. And these products can be bought and sold separately and have an independent value worth hundreds of millions of dollars on today's market. And I highlight the importance of these energy products because it's the focus of SB 612 that Lori mentioned, which was the focus of our advocacy in the 2021 session. And so 612 was sponsored by CalCCA, which is the CCA trade association, and authored by Senator Portantino, who's the chair of the California Senate Appropriations Committee. And the goal of this bill was to, number one, direct the CPUC to require utilities to give CCAs the right to buy a proportionate share of the credits that are charged to them in the PCIA. And the reason for doing this would be to maximize the value of the utility portfolio and to reduce utility and CCA operating costs, partially because the CCAs would no longer be paying twice for these products. So currently CCAs pay for the greenhouse gas free, the renewable, and the reliability products both through the PCIA and then again on the market, because when they pay for these products through the PCIA, they don't receive the benefit of these products. And by benefit, I mean we need to be able to claim these products in order to comply with the California Public Utilities Commission requirements to meet reliability standards, greenhouse gas reduction standards, and renewable portfolio standards. So there are requirements that all load-serving entities like San Jose Clean Energy and PG&E must meet in order to participate in the California market. But the way it's set up currently, when the IOUs control most of these products, but they don't allow us to benefit from these products in terms of compliance, even though our customers pay for them. So that was the purpose of this bill, was to require the utilities to offer up a proportional share of these products that would then optimize the cost of their portfolio and reduce PCIA. And again, the cost of the portfolio is what we're paying for in the PCIA, and the cost of the portfolio, that utilities don't have an incentive to control those costs. And so you saw the chart showing them going up year after year, and in fact have an incentive to pass them on to the CCAs. So we did a lot of work together with Cal CCA to really educate folks about what this means and the equity concerns that we have with the utilities passing on the costs of their potentially, we might say, mismanaged portfolios. So we did fact sheets, which you see on the left. We did web pages with Cal CCA and CCA. We did many social media posts to alert stakeholders to the fact that the bill was in play, and when it would come up, to encourage people to send letters of support. And we also wrote many letters of support for the bill. And we also did a video. San Jose Clean Energy produced a video on the PCIA and above market costs that we'd like to show you this afternoon. So go ahead, Marina.
California electricity prices are rising. This is due in no small part to investor-owned utilities' above-market energy costs, which will total $3.9 billion in added customer costs in 2021. In Northern California, all electricity customers pay to keep PG&E's nuclear, hydropower, and natural gas plants running, and for power from third-party contracts. But for some of PG&E's power plants and contracts, the costs outweigh the current market value of the energy and reliability benefits they are generating, and not all costs are justified. All electricity customers pay for these above-market utility costs through an added fee called the Power Charge Indifference Adjustment, or PCIA. The problem is that above-market costs are increasing every year for utility investments made years ago, and ratepayers are on the hook. PG&E's PCIA has grown 900% since 2013. In 2021, the average residential customer in San Jose is paying $20 per month for PG&E's above-market costs, up from $10 in 2018. Because PG&E can pass all of their above-market energy costs onto customers through the PCIA, they are not incentivized to keep operating costs low. CCAs, California's locally run public energy providers, are advocating for PCIA reform to lower costs for all Californians, regardless of where your energy comes from. CCAs are driving California to a clean energy future by investing in new renewable energy resources, energy reliability, and low-carbon buildings and transportation, all while prioritizing their communities and affordability.
Thank you. So we used this information, the video we pushed out to, go back one slide. Marina, can you go? There we go. So we pushed the information out to our delegation, to leadership, to and also to many community-based organizations that we work with renewable developers and suppliers that we work with or that we know, and their trade associations, and a number of tech companies that are also impacted by the PCIA as customers, and then their trade associations. So end of the day, we had over 100 supporters for SB 6112, Portantino, folks who sent letters in to committee, to the author, in expressing their support for this bill. So it was really a great opportunity to educate folks on what this really means, and that it's not simply a cost, a stranded asset cost that's left because CCA customers left the utility, but it's in fact, it's an above market cost that the utilities are passing on to customers, and they're passing it on to utility customers and CCA customers. So it's just a really important opportunity around this bill to explain to the public, what's happening with this bill, or with this PCIA cost. So during session, SB 612, it passed through Senate Energy Committee 11-2. It passed through Senate Appropriations Committee 5-0. And it passed off the Senate floor 33-6. So we had a tremendous amount of support and momentum going through the Senate. And then it was scheduled for Assembly Energy Committee in June, but unfortunately, Chair Holden pulled the bill from the calendar a few days before it was set for hearing, and SB 612 is now a 2-year bill, meaning that it can come up in the next session. We can try to move it again. But despite this legislative setback, it really was an important session for us to emphasize the ratepayer equity concerns that we see with PG&E above market costs, and really to expand our advocacy coalition with allies and to make new allies in the support of CCA services and the CCA mission. So next slide. Next, I want to touch briefly on the other roadmap effort that we focused on, which was research on regulatory reform to optimize portfolio costs to reduce customer PCIA rates. And as Lori mentioned, we did a study of how other states handle what we call departing load fees, or basically costs when customers leave the utility to receive service from another provider. And so what we found is there are 7 states that have CCAs, and only California charges utility exit fees for customers leaving their utility to join a CCA. So we're unique in that. Of the 16 states that have some form of electric competition, only 3 states have no end date. The other 2 states besides California are Massachusetts and New Hampshire, or impose a fee over $1, over some nominal amount. In Nevada, there are competitive markets in Nevada, but there they have a one-time fee for customers who leave utility service. And in Texas, probably the most famous competitive electricity market, the fees are virtually zero today. So this was interesting for us to understand how other states manage this problem, and because it's such a growing problem for us, and perhaps providing that type of visibility to decision makers, both at the California Public Utilities Commission and at the legislature, will be illuminating going forward. We also looked at opportunities to improve regulatory oversight of utility portfolio costs, including something that's called the Bundled Procurement Plan. So it's a way for us to intervene in a Public Utilities Commission proceeding to challenge some of the portfolio costs that utilities are claiming in rates. And also, we're looking at challenging what was called Working Group 3, a PUC proceeding that looked at allocating the energy products that we discussed in SB 612. There was also a PUC proceeding to allocate these products, which didn't go the way that we hoped it would. And so there's a consideration of having a rehearing and revisiting that decision to push for allocation of reliability products. CalCCA and San Jose Clean Energy were already successful in advancing standardized reporting of utility costs that are passed on to customers. and increase transparency so that we can help monitor and control the costs that are passed on to ratepayers. Next slide. So in terms of recommendations, we're very involved in a number of PG&E or CPUC rate proceedings and focusing with laser focus on the accounting of costs that PG&E passes on to San Jose Clean Energy and to ensure against any potential cost shifts. We're also looking closely at California market trends and we have new and improved models to really track the costs and to use these costs as part of our regulatory analysis to look at new policies to reduce costs. And then we're looking at revisiting SB 612 in the 2022 legislative session. And then in terms of recommendations for this body, we would ask that we please continue to thank the San Jose delegation for their strong support in moving this bill, either through writing letters of support or
Paul, you should be able to unmute.
Oh shoot, I thought it was hard. Sorry about that. Thank you. Paul Soto, Blair and I were at the meeting when some people came in and stated the entire infrastructure to electrify the east side, that the cost was going to go downhill. It was going to cost the landlords was going to pass that cost down to the renter. And so the council has been forewarned about this. We have elected officials, and this is almost like embarrassing for me to say this because this is like 10th grade civics class stuff. Is that the representatives of the people are there for a particular reason, and that is protection. That is protection of the people. You have no other function there other than the protection of the people. And what we elect you for is to be able to anticipate what would be needed for the people, the various ways in which they would be impacted by a policy, and then determine the maximum benefit that you can get from legislating a particular policy to the people that don't have the power to protect themselves against that. That is what you get elected for. Okay, and so I would appreciate if you really listen to the ideas that Blair has. Okay, he talked very well about subsidies. He centered it correctly. And then he even gave you a source of funding for it. Because if you think that the message, because what they'll do, oh, we're going to pay Somos, we're going to give Somos a couple $100,000, we're going to give Sisipay a couple $100,000, all that's wasted money. Wasted. Why? 85% of the graduating classes on the east side, they graduate 3,500 people every single year. Okay, out of those 3,500, 85% are not proficient in math, 59% are not proficient in English. This is the graduating class. Okay, so all of their advocacy is it's a waste of city money. Their grant money, they should be ashamed of themselves for constantly collecting the money, but not really informing the people about what it is that they can anticipate. What they do is they trust them. They trust their judgment. I don't trust Somos, Si Se Puede, Luna as far as I can throw them. I don't trust them for nothing because they're in bed with the politicians. They're experiencing all this grant money allocation, and we get nothing in return for it. Ain't nobody on the east side, on the west side helping us. There's Mexicans on the west side. There's Mexicans in the horseshoe. Believe it, I'm there. I'm still there. Gonna be there. It's gonna be the last place I take my last breath. So what I'm saying is you need to protect the people. Listen to Blair.
Next speaker is caller 5140. I'd like to remind you that the topic for public comment is lowering PG&E above market costs for clean energy. Please stay on topic.
I'm always on topic. That's why you guys hate me down there. Yeah, this is a scam again. This is a total joke. The utility bills keep going up and up. You people keep putting more and more taxes on them. You don't want to have natural gas anymore. It's the least the city council could do is help out any of the residents, no matter what their economic situation is, to not have such ridiculous utility bills. I don't know is anyone down there at City Council? Raise your hand if you're happy with your utility bill. I don't see any hands being raised. The utility lines are bad. This just isn't a city problem. It's a state problem with the Utilities Commission in bed in Sacramento. The utility lines haven't been upgraded for over half of a century. Am I still on topic here? Yeah, I think I am. And I don't know how people are affording their bills to pay their electric bills, and we in this house do the best we can to conserve energy and do everything we can. The bill is still super high. I can't imagine. So some of our other neighbors have utility bills you can't believe, but they don't have large houses or families or anything like that. So, yeah, the least you people could do is help out the citizens with this problem. It's a total price gouge. Welcome to California. It's been going on here since the gold rush days. Always the elite white liberals running this place into the ground forever.
Thank you. Next speaker is Roland.
Can you hear me now? Okay. So first of all, I want to thank staff for this presentation. It is obviously, this is of a grave concern of everybody who lives in San Jose and in the county in general. But what I'd like to put to you is that the electrical cost issue is merely a tip of the iceberg. If you look at what's going to be happening down the road after the investigations are completed into what goes the latest round of massive fires in California, it's very clear that PG&E will be found responsible and accountable in many of these fires. At which point in time we will be looking at yet another bankruptcy, and then another bunch of costs being passed on to basically the people like us, people who have got to pay our utility bills. And we just can't carry on like this. So what I would suggest is that we advocate at the state level to basically go to PG&E and California telling them, look guys, we're done with you. We want to take over both electricity and gas distribution in the state of California, and we appreciate your interest. Please move on somewhere else. And in closing off, I'm going to tell you what's going to happen if we don't. We were supposed to be replacing the gas lines in my street when the last went bankrupt. So they did the first 3 houses, they went bankrupt and they stopped. We know we're sitting on all gas lines. If we don't do something about this now, it's only a matter of time until we've got another San Bruno and PG&E blows up an entire section of San Jose. Thank you.
Next speaker is Blair Beekman.
All right, thanks. Thanks for the words of Paul Soto. Yeah, it's really time, we're in a new era with COVID, to talk about subsidies. I hope we can do it responsibly for both community and local government, and we can learn some good lessons together at this time. I thank you for the SJCE work and good advocacy efforts in Sacramento in addressing PCIA issues, and to ask for an end to AB 1139, among other things. SJCE is a bright, good team and tries to make sure progressive good ideas can be practiced. Thank you. Some tough words here, though. Although the PG&E ask is really creative, good default help and good practices of the SJCE, SJCE may not be able to promote quality community energy practices often for the next few years, and simply leaves the SJCE vulnerable to complacency and corruption. As an example of this may be the efforts in trying to clear up previous mistakes of Bloom Energy natural gas contracts of the past few years. To address these complacency and corruption issues, a reminder of some basics. The SJCE has to learn how to better expand itself into everyday community, better explain good available subsidy programs to the community, and to really focus on good renewable energy practices and its economy. A reminder that the mostly straight and narrow work of East Bay Community Energy can really be of help in what can be a good direction in renewable energy and sustainable local procurement ideas at this time. And a final reminder that to work towards our better ideals and local economic practices at this time could make it easier to return to our regular good practices easier and sooner after any Bay Area natural disaster events in the next 2 to 5 years. SJCE is under federal contract subsidy plans that are blocked right now. We can't work better at this time. We need to address these issues. You're trying your best. I just wanted to make you aware we're blocked by federal subsidy programs at this time. We have to work hard. Thank you.
Thank you. Turning back to my colleagues, Councilmember Cohen.
Yeah, thank you. And I want to thank the staff for working on trying to solve these issues with these high charges that our residents are facing. And just a question about the opposition that we're getting in the state. I mean, obviously, I imagine PG&E is spending a lot of money trying to defeat this legislation. You know, our local delegation is obviously supportive, and I see on that list there are a lot of cities around the state that support this, and I imagine they've gotten a lot of the local delegations also supporting it. So, what was the opposition that led this bill to be hung over for a second year, held over for a second year, and what we think the prospects are for this bill to move forward next year and be adopted?
Yeah, thank you, Councilmember Cohen. So I would say the main opposition came from PG&E's labor union, IBEW. So that is, definitely going to be the challenge going forward. The other organization that was opposed to this was Churn. They were a ratepayer advocacy organization that was also opposed to the bill. So those were the two main opponents to SB 612. I expect going into next session and really most bills that Cal CCA may run into the same issues from PG&E's labor union. We are working really hard with Churn to try to get a better relationship there and collaborate with them. So that's something we're going to continue to need to focus on as we pursue other legislative pathways.
What is Churn's opposition based on?
Yeah, maybe Carrie can jump in here, but essentially they were saying this is legislating a issue that has already been decided at the commission. Carrie, do you want to talk a little bit more about that?
Yeah, so we introduced the bill when this issue was hung up at the commission and had been stuck there for over a year and a half. So we introduced the bill, and then shortly before it went to committee, then poof, there was a decision. And so then that gave some of the opponents the opportunity to say, well, the issue had already been deliberated at the PUC, and yet all of the issues that we had come to a compromise agreement with multiple parties at the PUC that were in the bill weren't addressed by the PUC, and they didn't even include it in their decision. So it was just it was an awkward decision where they ignored a lot of the work that went into the sort of consensus-based process for a recommendation of how to allocate these resources so that the CCAs could buy them. But that's where we got hung up, is that they argued that the legislature shouldn't be getting involved in something that the PUC was working on. And of course, PG&E was opposed also.
I'm surprised. I mean, Churn talks about being there for ratepayers, and it seems like ratepayers are the ones getting hurt the most by this. So
yeah. We did work with them, through the session, but in the end, I guess it wasn't enough.
Okay, thank you.
If my colleagues have other questions, I have a couple. Kind of jumping off on that, the group Churn, are they ratepayers in CCA markets who stayed with PG&E?
No, sorry, go ahead.
Who's in this group, and who do they represent exactly? Because don't seem to represent CCA customers.
Yeah, they're supposed to represent all ratepayers. So Churn is a statewide organization. They, they are really what's known as an intervener at the PUC. So they obtain most of their funding as being an intervener in various CPUC proceedings. So they're a statewide advocacy group, mostly focused at the commission, but also in the legislature around ratepayer issues. And
So so I don't understand their opposition to this then.
Yeah, it's unfortunate, something, we still need to work with them on, but as I said, their view on it was, so just to back up a little bit to what Carrie said, is there was a open proceeding at the commission with several different working groups to work on PCIA reform. And in particular, there was a working group 3, which focused on how to allocate resources that customers pay for in the PCIA. That working group met for 2 years. It included CCAs, the investor-owned utilities, a number of different groups, and there was a consensus proposal that SB 612 is based on, which basically said if CCA customers are paying for these resources, we should get the benefits for them. And Southern California Edison was one of those coalition partners. And so that was the proposal for the commission, that was the consensus proposal for the commission to consider. Unfortunately, what the commission did is they did not take that consensus proposal. They came up with their own decision, which largely wasn't in line with that proposal. So the decision that they implemented specifically said that we didn't get the resource adequacy, got some of the renewable benefits, didn't get the greenhouse gas free benefits. It was largely a proposal that was supported by PG&E. So unfortunately, we lost that at the commission. And Turn's argument was that, well, look, you had your day at the commission. The legislature shouldn't reconsider this issue because they decided at the commission. I think our view on that is there's many things that go to the legislature that the commission has decided on. And so we felt strongly that we should go ahead and proceed, but Turn just didn't agree with that.
Okay. And what is the outlook for, remind me how the 2-year bill happens. I forget the details. If it's already passed out of the Senate and it's in the Assembly Committee and it's been held until next session, it only has to go through Assembly and then any concurrence to go before it goes to the governor's desk. So we're like halfway there.
Yeah, Carrie, do you want to take that one?
That's right, Carrie.
And so it just depends on when they take it up again. They could take it up as early as January or as late as the summertime. It's
And
2022.
Do we know, will the chair of the Assembly Energy Committee likely be the same chair in January?
As far as I know, it will likely be the same chair. That Chair Holden has just last week said that he's reaching out to parties and reaching out specifically to the CCAs and CalCCA to talk about SB 612. And what's a little bit interesting is that Senator Portantino and Assemblyman Holden share the same area, represent similar constituents around Pasadena, Southern California.
Okay. And so what is our outlook on that actually passing? What are our thoughts? I mean,
I think it will be challenging given that the utilities are strongly opposed. However, we've made a lot of progress in terms of educating folks about what this charge is really all about. And it's not simply a cost for a stranded asset. It's an above market cost that the utilities impose on all ratepayers. So it's a shared ratepayer cost, and ratepayer costs are going up, as one of the members of the public pointed out. So there is that angle, and so we'll continue to work on it, and maybe there's a slightly different way to get at it. I'm not sure, but I think the progress that we've made with the coalition in terms of educating folks about what's at stake and people are engaged and continue to tell us that they want to work with us going forward.
Okay, thank you. Councilmember Peralez?
Yeah, my question was in regards to the other form of opposition, which you said was IBEW. What sort of progress or what strategy do we have to try and get some support from that union or maybe even other labor organizations, considering that, right, that the work in essence that these jobs that I imagine IBEW members are concerned about would still need to be done, whether it was PG&E or someone else, and right, someone else sort of in charge, if you will. So what kind of work is being done there? What's the strategy?
Yeah, it's a really good question, council member. So just to clarify, and I think it's an important point, is that PG&E's local IBEW is opposed to it, but other locals are not. So I think that's an important distinction, that this is really PG&E's labor union, which is opposing. And so, you know, I think, again, it's going to be challenging, but you're right. You know, fundamentally, jobs are not at stake with this. It's really about equity of the resources that customers are paying for. So, you know, CalCCA is really trying to work with other labor unions and also continuing to try to, you know, obtain a better relationship with PG&E's labor union. But, you know, that obviously is very challenging. I think, you know, in terms of work we will continue to do and, you know, for the rest of this year and into 2022, it's really important for us to build broader support within the labor industry. And that's something that we've been working on, and also other CCAs, and particularly, you know, I think we have opportunities when we build our long-term contracts, and we will be coming back to this committee to talk a little bit about that. I know Councilmember Cohen also had those questions. And so I think there's opportunities there where, you know, many of the projects that we're constructing, those long-term renewable projects, are using project labor agreements, we're using union labor. And so that is an opportunity to try to get more support from that coalition. But we expect it will continue to be challenging because PG&E's IBEW union is very strong, and you know, that's a strong coalition in the legislature. So that's going to continue to be something that we're going to have to work through.
Okay, thank you. Yeah, I appreciate that. I was aware that PG&E's IBEW was not in support, but I wasn't certain what the rest of the labor organizations or other IBEWs were thinking. So I appreciate that and look forward to the continued updates and hopefully some progress on this. Thanks.
Councilmember Cohen?
Yeah, quickly. I think you answered my question. We were talking about PG&E, but this is not just PG&E, it's all the utilities across the state that are opposing this, right? So even because at first you said that the SB 612 was kind of put together with Southern Cal Edison, but then but they're still opposing it now, or what's the?
Yeah, so great question, council member, and unfortunate. So at the commission, under the Working Group 3 consensus proposal, Southern California Edison was supportive. PG&E and San Diego Gas and Electric were not. You know, the other member there were some independent power producers also in that coalition of support. So we, you know, over 2 years, really challenging issue, but, you know, really got to thank CalCCA for all the work there just to get the amount of support that they did at the commission with the consensus proposal. But what ended up happening is, after the commission issued their proposed decision, which was much different than the consensus proposal, Southern California Edison took the same approach as Churn and basically opposed it because the commission had already acted. And so they took that same viewpoint. I don't know, Carrie, if you want to add more details there.
No, I think that's fair.
Yeah.
So they took advantage of the fact that the commission kind of sided with utilities and said, well, I guess we don't really need action at this point.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, so that was unfortunate.
And then it is unfortunate then that also that these corporations are able to splinter off these labor groups to kind of go against the environmental thing to do, and it happens a lot. We see these individual labor unions not side on the environmental side and not side with the rest of labor and cause these divisions. But hopefully we can work with them going forward and build a better consensus on this. And Councilmember Davis, you maybe asked the wrong question rather about who's chairing the committee. We also have to ask who's going to be governor next year when when this bill comes forward. But hopefully we'll still have a supportive governor on these kinds of issues at this point next year. Anyway, thank you for the answer to the question.
Sure, of course.
Good point, Councilmember Cohen, although it has to get out of committee first. I'll take a motion to accept the report. Somebody wants to make it?
I move to accept the report.
Second.
Thank you. Can we get the roll call vote, please?
Foley,
Aye.
Peralez,
Yes.
Cohen,
Aye.
and Davis.
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you. Our last item is open forum. I see one hand raised. Paul Soto is first and then Blair Beekman.
Yes, Paul Soto, I appreciate the check, Councilmember Davis. It's just that sometimes a lot of these items, they are connected. It may seem that it's discordant, but when you talk about the protection of the people and then you talk about the rates being raised, there is a connection there, but I appreciate the check. Coming up in the next couple of months, like I said, I predict by the end of October, we're going to be on lockdown. Okay, the deaths and the admittances all across the country of COVID. Okay, and there is no messaging. There is no public messaging with respect to this on a public level, and it gets talked about here in these committees, but these nonprofits, they're not telling their people the truth. They're just not doing it. They're getting a lot of grant money. Okay, and they're not telling the truth. And when they are telling them the truth, they're doing it in Spanish. Okay, they're not doing word for word translations from Spanish to English, English to Spanish. It's not happening. But yet, Blair and myself, when we first went to COVID 18 months ago, when we first went to that was one of the things that he primarily advocated for. Blair, that Spanish interpretation be given. Okay, I don't speak Spanish because of the tragedies that were happening in the Elm Rock School District. Okay, so I'm disconnected. So groups that are receiving money are conducting their meetings only in Spanish, but yet they're receiving San Jose City tax money, grant money. Okay, and so that's offensive to me, to come to these meetings and be excluded from those meetings, and San Jose is paying for that. Come on, man. There's a little bit of corruption there, man. It's got to be squared. There's something that has to be done about the corruption in these. Not only that, South Bay Labor Council is the one that facilitated that $150 million deal. So for them to start having a say with respect to the electricity and all of the expenses it's going to take to build that infrastructure.
Next speaker is Blair Beekman. After Blair is Roland.
All right, thank you. Thanks for the words of Paul. Zoom fees can be a lot less for language interpretation. It's our commitment to good open public policy ideas and practices like renewable energy at this time that can make for smoother, better reasoned, easier returns to our more regular good ideals and economic practices after any natural disaster events in the Bay Area in the upcoming decade. I feel as many, we are ready and we can be at the time of treating the fossil fuel economy as only a more specialized portion of the economy and not as a major economic driver in this next decade. 2023 may simply be an important year that simply defines our direction of our decade, of this upcoming decade. But I also have warned 2023 may be a year of a large SF Bay Area earthquake, and that I've tried to make clear so we can all better prepare and question openly. I think 2023 is also the year the SJCE can renegotiate their state and federal funding contract. It is my understanding that current contracts cannot allow SJC to better expand community energy and renewable energy ideas to everyday San Jose community at this time. Why I mentioned the corruption factor and the complacency factor in my previous item. Thank you. With 38 seconds, you guys have been doing some great work this month to try to talk about important items and subjects. I think it's centered around the data collection agenda item you had on council a few weeks ago. You spent over an hour on that subject. We're talking about data collection practices, and it is open democratic practices. It's civil rights, it's civil protections. This invites hope and invites the individual of the community to participate in the process. This is very hopeful stuff. I hope you keep it up this fall. It can get us out of these VTA blues, and thanks a lot for the meeting.
Thank you. Last speaker is Roland.
Thank you, Madam Chair. So I'd like to very briefly touch on the airport connector, and then in less than 2 minutes come up with a solution that addressed the concern Paul Soto had earlier about the 4 tracks going to the horseshoe. If you look at the airport connectors in the Bay Area, I think that San Francisco to SFO via BART is a great solution. If you come up south from the peninsula, quite frankly, Millbrae is an absolute joke, and people just don't take BART. They actually take a San Fran bus to get to the airport. If you look at what happened in Oakland, is after $400 million, basically Uber and Lyft have taken this over, and the ridership is just, it's appalling, it's abysmal. And now you're looking at San Jose. San Jose is actually worse, because yes, an airport connector could be useful to people who live downtown or south of San Jose, but I can assure you there's no way that somebody from Palo Alto or anywhere in the East Bay is ever going to get down to Diridan only to make a U-turn and head right back to the airport. That's not going to happen. So this is why we made a different proposal, whereby we would have a station at the airport. And right north of the station, there would be a fork that would either go to the East Bay or go and connect back to the Caltrain tracks on the peninsula. But things get really, really interesting when you move south, because the proposal we have to address Paul Soto's problem is not to have 4 tracks at grade. It's to have 2, potentially a third, but I think that's necessary, tracks at grade, going to Gardner and serve 8 elevated platforms, not 10. But we also have a proposal for an additional 2 underground tracks. And those 2 underground tracks serve 2 platforms under Diridan, under Google, that got the same capacity as the other 8 elevated platforms, but those 2 platforms go to the airport. That resolves all the problems. It resolves all the issues with the airport connector, and it resolves all the issues with this massive 4-track traffic going to Gardner and Willow Glen. Thank you.
Thank you. This meeting is adjourned.